The opinions and views expressed in the following program are those of the speakers and the host, and do not necessarily reflect those of Yoakley Scott Corporation and your sports network.
Yeah, I've been closer to Jesus before, so can you help me out? Oh, can you help me out? Am I on my own? Am I on my own? But can you help me out? Am I on my own? Am I on my own? Or can you help me out? Can you help me out? I've been scared to look in my soul. I've been afraid I would follow the road. Yeah, afraid of the things I've been told.
What is up, everybody? Welcome inside a Wednesday episode of Running Point on YSNLive.com, brought to you by Greenwood Chevrolet in Austintown. You can see them above our heads, the big logos on a Wednesday with Scotty Mincher in the studio. Greenwood Chevrolet is our proud sponsor since day one, and we always want to take the time at the top of the shows to thank them for their wonderful sponsorship and everything they do, not just for this show, but for YSN as a whole. They've been with us since day one through all the twists and turns, and we thank Greenwood Chevrolet for their constant sponsorship. If you're in the market for a new or used vehicle, make sure to check out Greenwood Chevrolet in Austintown. They go the extra mile for you. Scotty, I was telling you before the show in the green room, this is a free for all day, man. We're letting the wheels loose. We have no Class B to talk about from yesterday because the weather canceled it. So it's pretty much a Scotty and Anthony rule the world kind of day, which I know excites you because I know anytime you get to take those training wheels off a little bit and let the gasoline fly, that's when you're at your best. One of the things I do want to kind of talk about for a minute, though, is this our All-Star games. We've started to send out invitations. Our rosters are starting to be built a little bit. June 24th for the baseball game at 7 o'clock at Bob Seam Park, and then June 28th for the softball game at YSU Softball Complex. This year it is going to benefit the FCA. We released a statement on that yesterday at on ysnlive.com. FCA has been someone that we've been partnered with for quite some time, and it's a great opportunity for us to give back to them and the wonderful things they do for a lot of communities in our area. I know I was a member of FCA in high school. I spoke at FCA as a leader there. I did plenty of talks in the front of the room at FCA, so that's a special place for me. So we're excited for that. We're excited for our All-Star games once again, June 24th and June 28th. Baseball on the 24th, softball on the 28th. Bob Seam Park, YSU Softball Complex. Let's go. We will be in touch very, very soon with our full roster and who you can expect to be at the All-Star game. But Scotty, I know you're excited every time we roll out one of these events. You and your buddies from Purple Cut are always one of the first ones there.
Yeah, for sure. I'm really excited. Definitely, and I saw the release yesterday, as you mentioned, and that it's gonna benefit FCA, and you've talked a lot of good things about them. My dad partnered with the FCA, back when I was in high school, so they would have a lot of, you know, um, athletes that, you know, physically they had all the tools, but maybe they had some struggles, didn't quite reach their full potential, but they kind of found new meaning in life through FCA. And my dad would speak a lot about that too, and just faith and, where how it can help you in life and how it can help you overcome. But I was wondering, Anthony, since it's just us unleashed
It's not-
There's really
it's a scary, scary
found
moment.
on us at all. I was wondering for you, thinking about the All Star games and more specifically turning the clock back to the basketball All Star game and tying it into now baseball and softball. Because I've been to two straight basketball games, I just wanted to know from you. There was definitely a big difference in when it came to the basketball game as far as the intensity between the boys and the girls. The boys were kind of more laid back, just kind of goofing off, and they wanted to put on a show. And the girls were really highly competitive, D'ing up, and they really um, gave their full out best max effort. But I wanted to know from you, Anthony, what do you think um, the biggest difference is? What do you expect with these baseball and softball All-Star games? That's not just different. Obviously, the sport is totally different, but
Mm.
the players' approach. How much of it do you think is different, and do you think it's still like they're gonna be loose and having fun? Still a lot out there, or do you think there's gonna be a lot of intensity, just like it's a game to win a championship or something like that?
I'm going to answer that, but first I have to get to the comments because it's a very nice comment from Edward Tollivers calling us the best sports show on YouTube. I mean, Scotty, we have a lot to live up to with that comment there because
Oh
we're
yeah,
going up
we
against
do.
some really
Uh,
good sports shows on YouTube. But I appreciate that. That's a great kind word from our comment section. Comment sections are always open, guys. If you're watching on YouTube or Twitter or Facebook or Twitch, even we are live on Twitch. Make sure to hit us up with a comment. We'd love to hear from the people that are listening and what they think. But back to your question, Scotty. It's funny because we've had now after this year, we've had the volleyball all-star game, we've had plenty of basketball all-star games, and now this will be our third year doing the baseball and softball all-star games. And one of the things I noticed is every sport is a little bit different on how the all-star games are kind of handled by the kids that are playing in them. Volleyball was the most like a game because you can't water down that sport because you have to have a good pass, a good set, and a swing. Like there's no way around that. Like you can't just goof off and have fun with volleyball and have a good quality volleyball game. So we actually made the check-in an hour earlier for volleyball because the coaches wanted time to get these players together in the same room and just kind of at least get a little communication down, which is something that you just have to do with volleyball. If you want anything resembling a good product, which is what we kind of want, we want these players to be able to shine on the floor. So volleyball is that one thing. It's like kind of the unicorn where you can't water it down at all. Like you have to have a structured volleyball game. Setters have to know what they're doing. The hitter, there's got to be communication, et cetera, et cetera. Um, and then basketball was kind of just a pickup game, right? It was just kind of roll the ball out and let's just go, especially on the boys' side. It was just, a lot of isolations, a lot of one-on-ones, a lot of let me see what I can do against this person, not a lot of defense, just trying to kind of, have fun and expose their skills. And then the girls were more like, okay, they're like the defense in the girls' all-star games for basketball was cranked up to 11 because I think they all wanted to prove that they could defend the best players in the area. Um, and then for baseball and softball, it's kind of a mix of both. Like it's hard to really water down baseball to just a pickup game. I mean, the pitchers are going to be throwing at their velocity and the hitters are going to be trying to hit these best pitchers. But then we also saw last year and the years before, there are ways that they find to be loose a little bit and have some of that fun that you wouldn't necessarily have in a regular season high stakes game. For example, last year we had Joe Roth play every position because he wanted to put his hat in the ring on every position on the baseball diamond. So at one point in the whole game, he was at every position out there. Things like that, joking around and trying things they wouldn't try. That happens in the baseball and softball games, but at the same time, you still have that You can't really water down the X's and O's of the sport either. So I think softball and baseball are like a mix of volleyball and basketball in that sense, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that's a interesting take, and I can totally see why you feel that way. I think it is really hard to um, goof off in baseball and softball. I mean, you can look extremely silly if you play a little bit too loose.
Yeah, right. Like if
Um,
you go out there and try to like do a like behind the back flip, like 9 times out of 10 that's going into the outfield and you just look like an idiot. But they will try things that they know that are in their wheelhouse that they probably wouldn't throw out during an actual game with actual stakes. So that's what's the fun thing about it. Like you'll see catchers try to throw people out that maybe they let go, and you'll see the shortstop make like a backhand flip that they probably wouldn't do in a regular season. And you see the hitters go a little bit more, all out, like swinging all out for the fences because they want to hit the ball hard instead of just the fundamental, just put a nice swing on the ball, get us a hit. Not going to see a lot of bunts during the All-Star game because winning doesn't really matter. Things like that. So you're going to see a little bit more of, having fun, being loose, but also there is aspects of the game that you're never going to water down. Like the pitchers aren't going to come and lower their velocity by 40, miles per hour just so we get a lot of offense. They're going to come, they're going to bring the heat. They're gonna bring what they have, to offer, and the hitters aren't gonna, just take some pitches just to give the pitchers some time to shine. So you have that like you did in volleyball, but then you also have some looseness that you did in basketball. So I think it's a nice little blend of both sides of the fence there.
I think so too. And what really made it like that moment where it's like, okay, these players are still competing at a high level. They still want to go out and they want to show the world why they were picked as the all stars. Um, so you still definitely get that you get a good amount of effort, um, even with the boys throwing up a lot of half court shots and
A
maybe trying to do a little bit of
lot of
razzle
dunks, a
dazzle
lot of
with dribbling
dunkaroos.
and stuff like that. One of the fun things I saw, and this was even while the girls basketball game was going on too, like sitting there and watching DJ talking to both coaches while the game was
Yes, that's what
going
you
on.
know.
It's like wow, okay, this is how you know it is.
And
It is still supposed to be
trust
fun.
me, if you
I
watch
just
this All-Star game too, you're gonna see DJ in both dugouts. He's gonna be chatting up with the players and the coaches like it's a party on the dugout. And the other thing I just thought about, like I don't want to make it seem like the girls were all business and didn't really pull out any tricks or fun stuff during the All-Star game, because we saw a lot of them. And for the boys, it was more like deep shots and dunks. For the girls, I think what they brought out are some like those no look passes into the paint. We saw some of those, some spin moves, some up and under moves that they've probably been working on that they wouldn't really put out during a game that is meaningful, and you have to win. But we saw some plays during that girls game that was like, okay, I see your talent there. You kind of showed off a little bit, which is awesome. And I think softball, you're going to see that too. And one of the things that I'll also say real quick, Scotty, is remember 2 years ago, I was in the dugout for the softball game. I coached it before we had our guest coaches, be from the schools. We had a celebrity, I guess, coach year where we just put in Ysn personalities in the dugout, and I was one of them. And I was in the dugout. I can tell you from experience, you don't turn off the will to win. Like those girls in that dugout wanted to win that All-Star game a lot. They were not just there to just have fun. You can't turn that competitiveness off. They wanted to prove that their group of All-Stars was better than the other group of All-Stars. So, you're just not going to turn that competitiveness off. And then when I'm talking to players that played in last year's game, and obviously we had to end the game a little bit early because there was a light situation at YSU. They were at it. No, we walked it off. We won that game. They didn't care about the fun they had. They wanted everyone to know, hey, we won that All-Star game. So you can't turn off that drive to win for these competitiveness, especially I see it on the girls' side. You just can't turn off that fire inside that they just want to win the game. They don't really going out there and having fun. You tell them that, they're like, okay, cool, but I'm gonna go out there and win. Winning is fun,
Yeah, winning is fun. It's something you see even at the professional level where at times, I'll think how much do some of these guys care making millions of dollars. But I think there's a certain point where even at the professional level, it's like, yeah, these guys, they made it to the to
that's
the highest. These guys and even girls, like something like the WNBA or whatever, made it to the highest of high levels, but they still at the end of the day, nobody likes to lose. Nobody likes to look bad.
That's interesting
So,
because I think there are players, and we've seen it, that will take the money for a team that probably isn't going to compete as much as the team that they were on. They want the money, and they'll stay face and they'll say it wasn't about the money, but at the end of the day, it's like, no, you kind of chose money over winning a little bit, and I question the competitiveness in those guys. Like, you should want to win more than you want to breathe if you're going to win a championship at the highest level. So hey, you win one, or maybe you get close to one, and then you just say, you know what, that was fun. I'm gonna go get my money. And
yeah,
I kind of don't blame them because I feel like if someone put 12 million on the table and said, come play for me, and then another person put like 5% of that and said, come play for us, but we can win a championship. Like, I've never even seen anywhere close to that amount of money. So I can't judge people for taking it. I can't say like I wouldn't do it because that's a lot of money, right? Like, that is like, oh my gosh. But when you're splitting hairs between 1 million and 12 million, I mean, 1 million is a lot of money to us, but when you already have that, I guess, when you're in that culture, in that kind of mindset where you're seeing everybody else get paid 12 million, 13 million, whatever it may be, insert number there's probably something that tells you inside, I want that. I want that, notoriety or that money that other people are making. It's very interesting. It's a very interesting kind of world that I can't even grasp in professional sports on the men's side with the money that's in it.
yeah, and I do think Tyreek Hill. He's someone
Now, he
who's a
went
good
somewhere that you could at
example.
least say, okay, they had a chance to make the playoffs, but like, I don't want to like pound your Browns. I'm not trying to do that, but like, when Juan Thornhill goes from Kansas City to Cleveland, that's a money grab. Like, the Cleveland's not at a part right now where they're competing for a championship, right? And Kansas City obviously is. So unless he's so egomaniacal that he thinks he's going to be the difference maker on the team, and because he's on the team, they're all of a sudden going to be a Super Bowl contender. He took the money over competing for a championship because he already won one, and he thought that was good.
Yeah, he was fed. So,
And the
and
Browns
I
paid him a
do
lot.
think
Like, the Browns paid him a lot more than the Chiefs were willing to. So that's one of the things. Like, I can't necessarily full-heartedly judge it because that's a lot of dang money, and I can't say what I would do if that kind of money was put on the table. But at the same time, you can't sit there and say that wasn't something that you just put your competitiveness aside for the money. Like, you can't argue that
Yeah, like I think Juan Thornhill, using him, even talking about him as an example, I think, like, yeah, like I'm sure he still wants to win, but more than wanting to
absolutely.
win, he he
But
wanted to get paid.
I
He
think he
wanted to
wanted that
get
pay
paid
just a little
for
bit more.
yeah.
No
So
one's going to go to their new team and say, "Man, I'm so glad we're going to I don't care if we lose cuz I'm making money." Like, you want to win. But like, there's no way he's delusional enough to think that he just went from a team that could probably at least, can guarantee themselves into at least the AFC, divisional round. I'm never going to guarantee AFC championship every year because that's silly. Things happen. There are good teams that could beat you. But you're going from a team that's a contender to a team that is trying to kind of
get
reestablish
to a contender.
any kind of any kind of momentum. So unless you're delusional, you can't really honestly think that you just went to another team that could win you a championship this year or in the near future. So there had to be something there that said, I'm okay with sacrificing a little bit of my competitiveness for this payday. Had to be, had to be, had to be.
Yeah, I for sure I agree with that. And as much as every year I'm optimistic on the Browns, and
And look,
every year,
the
but
guy's the guy's Twitter handle is the one and only, and he picked number one. So he's feeling himself, right? He's flexing on himself. He's betting on himself, a little bit with that move to Cleveland.
yeah, and you could see why coming from the champion,
Right.
the defending champions, and not only that, but going to a team that their defense was horrible, and the safety
Hey,
play was pretty
um, I think
abysmal.
this is actually a good thing that we can segue this into just maybe even a little bit more hyper local talk and a little bit more about the psychological mind of an athlete because Frank Clark recently just went from Kansas City to Denver, just signed with Denver a couple of days ago. He did a really good podcast interview where he said he kind of knew he wasn't going to be in Kansas City for long. Long story short, he brought up when they asked him why he was going to go to Denver. He's in a state of his career. He's a veteran. He's not worried about money. He has all the money in the world. He was very adamant that he wanted to go somewhere where they needed him, like they needed a piece there, and that was something that he like. Maybe he for some reason he wanted to be somewhere where he knew that he was going to be a very important piece to what they were trying to do. Obviously, the Broncos had a losing record last year. It's gonna, can they turn around and be a contender in 1 year? Maybe. Their defense is really good, but the point is, like, he went somewhere where he knew that he was going to be someone that was absolutely a necessity to have, not just someone that was another cog in a, vast machine ocean of talent. So there is something to be said about someone that wants to go somewhere that that team or that place um, has more of a necessity for them than the place that they were at before. And I think sometimes we're going to be seeing that mindset in the transfer portal in college, and the trickle down effect, and we're seeing it all the time now in high school as teams are gaining players from other schools that are moving, and there's definitely transfers in high school as well. To say there aren't would be lying. There are some kids that want to go somewhere that where they're needed, like they're treated like they're essential to that team's success instead of being a
Just a
one little
piece.
dot in a ocean of talent. You know what I'm saying? And a
Yeah,
lot of people will say that and say, well, they just want to be the big fish in the small pond. They don't want to be the small fish in the big pond. And that's kind of just wanting to, not level up yourself and not, make yourself grow with others. But there is also like, who doesn't want that? Like if we look at this life in general, like who doesn't want to go somewhere where they're a necessity? Like if you had to choose a job between a job that you're going to be just one of 100 people doing the same job, or a job where you are the only person that can do this and they need you, who wouldn't take job B, right? Like, wouldn't you agree with that?
yeah, I would. Especially if that other job, was paying me more as well. So it's one of those things. I think that sometimes people think like, oh, players, especially on once they get to a certain level, or they only care about the money, or they just want to be, even into high school, college level, you could say someone wants to be the face of the team, like they want to be the
Right.
main star. They just want to
And
be that
when you
star.
word it like that, that's when people throw up the selfish flag and say, you're just doing it for the ego. You want to be the face of the franchise, et cetera, et cetera. But if you turn it on its head and say that person wants to be needed, they want to be a necessity, they want to be someone that can, that team or that organization desperately needs in order to succeed, then all of a sudden that doesn't sound as selfish, and it could be for the same reason. And maybe some people just want to go somewhere just so they can be the face. But I think Frank Clark, I mean, maybe he was staying face. I don't know Frank Clark personally. I'm just bringing this up for the conversation's sake. But maybe he, instead of wanting to be the face of Denver's defense, wanted to go to Denver because Denver needed that spot bad. Like it was going to go somewhere where they needed that spot to fill in a hole, and he was going to be someone that was valued because of that. So back to that first analogy, Scotty. Let's just say job A, like I brought up, you're going to be one of maybe, let's just say 50 people that are doing the same thing. You're not really, you're not going to be exalted over them or in any kind of way, but that company or that team is winning. Whatever you want to say, winning is in the organizational business mindset. That job is a winning job. You're going to go there, going to be part of a big company that is kicking butt, winning. Job B, like I said, you're going to be the only person in the world that can do this job for them. You're going to be valued, but maybe they're not there yet. They're not winning. Then that's where this conversation gets murky, right? Where do you go then? Do you go somewhere where you want to go and be on a team that, or on an organization or in a business that is winning, that is kicking butt, and eventually maybe you work yourself into a spot that you can be right there and be one of the guys that is valued, but right now you're just a grunt and you're just doing the same thing that other 50 people are doing? Or job B, where maybe you're not winning now, but you're also immensely valuable to that company, and there's a chance in the long game that maybe they can win, but it's not looking good right now.
And
That's kind of
you
the
could be the face
right, the
of that.
face. What do you decide to do then? And I think when you word it to people like that, it will get a lot harder for people to just all of a sudden throw up the selfish flag and say, well, X athlete just wants to be the face. You're just being egotistical. Um, they just want that, because I think there are definitely complicated reasons to every move that college athletes make or professional athletes make, or now that we're seeing high school athletes make it too. And I think one of the things that I've grown in, because I used to be this way too, when a kid or a college would leave my favorite college for someone else, and just be like, well, deuces then, screw you, you're done, there's no reason to leave us, deuces. But now it's like, man, there's this too many working cogs in a human brain to say that's the reason that kid's leaving, and I'm gonna hate him for it without even knowing what's going into it in his mind. You know what I'm saying? His or her mind, I should say. I've grown in that, and I just wanted, like, my TED talk, I guess, is to ask our American culture to grow into just doing some critical thinking and looking in the mirror and how you would handle that situation if you were put with those two options.
Yeah, for sure. I think like someone else I can think of just at the highest level,
Mhm.
Anthony, is, and I was talking about this the other day, how it's kind of refreshing to see a guy like Jose Ramirez, who took less money to stay with the Guardians. He took less money than he was worth to stay with the Guardians, and
Tom Brady always
he
always took a pay cut.
yeah. So it's refreshing to see guys like that. but I still think there's more guys out there that they not only want to go where the money is, but they don't want to have to build something. They want to go to a place where they could win and win very quickly. Like it doesn't take a lot several years for them to be able to win. And
That would
I
be that
think
would be your job A, right? Your job A, you go somewhere, they're winning, they're a winning culture, they're a winning program. You're going to go there. You might not be the most special person in the world there, but you're going to go there. You're going to win, right? So that's job A right there that you're describing. Do
yeah.
you have a problem with people kind of picking a route where they see an easy way to win a championship? Like, is there something wrong with winning a championship but doing it in a quote unquote easy way? And I use those air quotes because let's just be honest, winning a championship is never easy. There's no easy thing about it. Even if like you have a lot of talent, you worked hard to even get to that point, to get to that amount of talent. So I don't think there's any easy road to a personal championship. But do you think like I know Kevin Durant was always criticized about that when he went to Golden State? It's an easy road to a championship. Should we be saying you have to win, but because we put a lot of hype on a person's championships, right? When we're evaluating their career, how many championships did you win? It usually comes up in every discussion when you're talking about comparisons. So now it's like you have to win championships, but you also have to win them the right way. You know what I'm saying? I always found that funny because like we judge people so much on how many championships they've won in their grand scope of their career and how they're looked at in the best players of the game conversation. How many championships did you win? How many rings do you have? But then we're also saying, well, you took the easy way to win a championship. It's almost like a dichotomy. It's playing double standards there. We're judging them for not winning a championship, but we're also judging them if they make a move that's winning a championship in an easy way. I've always found that funny.
Yeah, and I think um like more locally, I think
Right.
LeBron, someone like him, he definitely caught a lot of heat for that. The first time he left,
Heat.
uh,
Good.
he pun intended.
That's a good one, Scotty. Pussy
Yeah,
good.
the first time he left Cleveland, and I'll admit it was my younger self. I was only,
Well,
I want to say at that time I was 21, 22, and LeBron did promise Cleveland he would win a championship before he would ever leave or anything like that. So I kind of just the way he did it with the
I think
whole
that's what the gripe was, Scotty.
decision thing and
Yes.
having a 2 hour special. Like I kind of held that against
Mhm.
them for quite a while.
And
But
don't get me
then I'm
wrong.
like, you know what? The Cavs, like looking back on it now, I I think about it and I'm like, the Cavs never really did a good job surrounding him with another star.
No, I didn't.
His first go around in Cleveland. So part of me says, like, how can you blame the guy for wanting that success, wanting to
Mhm.
get that championship, even though he was teaming up with another
Okay.
superstar at the time in Dwayne Wade. So
Devil's advocate because I hate the LeBron Michael Jordan conversation to death. But it wouldn't even be like in my opinion, it probably wouldn't even be a conversation if he stayed in Cleveland his whole career like people back then want him to. Maybe let's just give him a benefit of the doubt. He won one in Cleveland. Let's just say if he stays there, maybe he wins two, maybe three if we're generous. So let's give him three championships instead of what the six he has now, or with five, or how many does he have now?
he
Four,
actually only
three,
has four.
four. Okay, let's give him two. Let's give him two championship rings, all of them coming in Cleveland. He stayed in Cleveland his entire career. Do you think he's looked at better or worse if he stays where he's put and he stays loyal to Cleveland? Not just for Cleveland fans, but in the grand general scope of NBA fans that have that conversation, Michael versus LeBron. Obviously, rings are coming to a factor with it. Everyone says, how many championships do you have? If he had two less, but he also did it with the same team the whole way through, do you think he's looked at better or worse?
I that's a great question. I think he's definitely in this area
Yes.
he would be looked at as better, but I feel like nationally, like other portions of the country, they kind of be like, what the heck was LeBron thinking?
Right. Look,
He was too
he
loyal.
has 4, and he's still knocked for not having 6, right, in that
Yeah.
conversation. So if he only has
and
2,
and even like people will say like because I've kind of become at least my dad calls me a LeBron apologist. I've kind of gotten saddled fitted with that title, and people will say,
you're a
well,
Cleveland apologist,
th-
Scotty.
they'll say, yeah, I guess I am a Cleveland
Just
apologist.
blanket it all.
But we'll like have like fun arguments, sometimes heated, about the whole LeBron Jordan thing, and my dad and brother will say, "Well, I think LeBron he really only has three because who cares about the bubble year? Like the bubble year didn't count. There was nobody in the crowd and blah blah blah." So they'll even go as far as saying like one of his
Right.
titles shouldn't have counted, or they'll say like Kyrie hit the game-winning shot when he won it in Cleveland, and one of his in Miami, Ray Allen hit a game-winning three to force a game 7. So they'll say, he was lucky to even. He's lucky he even has 4. He could really only have like 2. So they'll go all day and try to, diminish what he's done over his career. Where Jordan, and I'm not saying like I hate comparing players and comparing eras because it's just a totally different game. I do think players as talented as Jordan and uh, LeBron would be good in both eras. I really do believe that they both excel in any era if you're that talented. But where I was going with it was people always talk about Jordan, and it's like he's untouchable because he never lost in the finals. Won 6 titles in 8 years, but he also didn't win a title until Scottie Pippen got there, and until Phil Jackson became his head coach. It took Jordan like 7 years to win his first championship. He wasn't like I know you love when I always talk up your boy, but he wasn't like a Pat Mahomes in the NFL where
I did not plan that. I did not plan Kansas City being part of this conversation. I'm not a homer.
but my point is he wasn't instantly just carrying teams to greatness. He had to take a lot of lumps before he eventually evolved and became the greatest player on the what many people see as the greatest basketball player ever. So
And he did it with the same team.
he did.
I mean, I know he went to the Wizards for the last couple of years, but championship runs, same team, Chicago, Chicago, Chicago. Maybe that's one of the reasons he's just looked at a little bit differently. Maybe Jordan doesn't have the praise that he has if he hops teams. Who knows? That's
Yeah,
some stuff to chew on. Basically, the whole full circle moment. If you missed a part of that conversation, we did not go off about LeBron and Michael for 20 minutes. We're not about that. We were just having a conversation about how we judge movements in sports, whether they be transfers in college, transfers in high school, or free agency in the pro line, and how kind of murky the conversation can get if you just dig a little bit deeper and not make the general statement, blanket statement about that person's decision to leave based on, whatever you want to say. He's selfish, they're selfish, et cetera, et cetera. All the stuff I see. Because the transfer portal is hot right now. So you see a lot of villainizing of athletes that are transferring on Twitter. So wanted to address that a little bit and get Scotty's take. And obviously, Scotty wanted to get my take on stuff. So it did evolve a little bit into some LeBron Michael discussions, which we'll just leave there. We'll take a break. We'll have a lot to chew on when we get back. More of me and Scotty just being me and Scotty on Running Point. Brought to you as always by Greenwood Chevrolet in Austintown. Back in a minute.
21 News delivers the news as it happens, using the latest technology from where it happens.
Live here outside the Mahoney County.
On air, online,
Wednesday afternoon weather update.
Very dangerous.
and on the 21 News social media platforms.
I'm on the road right now.
21 News, the Valley's only locally owned source for trusted news since 1953.
As fine as the eye can see, the finest hardwoods from the finest trees. Made for your home and within your means, Baird Brothers will help fulfill your dreams. Let life and light come shining through in quiet morns. And heavy traffic, too. Find your easy-to-afford fine hardwood floors and doors and more at BairdBrothers.com.
Every customer has a story, and at Greenwood Chevrolet, we are committed to making sure it ends with you in the right vehicle. I get to be part of somebody's adventure, whether it's buying a car for the first time, helping them get approved, or finding the perfect car for their budget. I'm proud that people trust me with their finances. They trust me to take care of them, and they trust me with their story. I'm Tracy, and I'm ready to go the extra mile for you, only at Greenwood Chevrolet.
Welcome back to Running Point on ysnlive.com, brought to you as always by our good friends over at Greenwood Chevrolet in Austintown. Getting this from their Facebook page, Scotty. It's a Did You Know? I know you like trivia so much, so this is a nice little trivia nugget for you that you can put in your pocket about Greenwood Chevrolet in Austintown. Did you know the Chevy Suburban has been around since 1935, and it is the first heavy-duty truck-based wagon of its kind? So there you go.
No, I did not know that. That's
So it is the longest running automotive nameplate in history is the Chevrolet Suburban. You can get a brand new one at Greenwood Chevrolet in Austintown. Make sure to head over there.
that's really cool. I don't know enough about automobiles. I feel like I need to educate myself more. I did. I think I told you last week, I went to a car show in Lowville not too long ago, and that was really cool looking at a lot of those like old fashioned cars and stuff like that. I'm sure Anthony, not to, go totally off the deep end here because this is a sports show, but I'm sure you've seen those videos, Anthony, of people that are in wheelchairs, but they have like the adaptable equipment.
Well, yeah, the handbrakes.
It's like
Yeah.
one stick to like
Right,
drive like vans and stuff like that.
right.
I was just wondering, have you ever thought about like driving or anything like that?
I actually tested one, not like in the car, but I went to the Mobility Works place in Akron, and they had a setup where you could like get into a seat and to see how it works and everything. But unfortunately for me, Scotty, I am legally blind. So even if I had the handbrakes and everything was working there, there's no way I'd be able to see enough to safely drive. So no one wants Anthony on the road with these eyes. These ojos are muy mal. No good. No good. I wouldn't be able to see where I was going. I wouldn't be able to see the street. I'd be like, we'll get there eventually.
I promise I
Did I
wasn't
just miss
trying
my
to
exit?
be. I totally forgot because I can't remember if you first told me or if it was your mom that you were legally blind.
I'm legally blind without the glasses. So this is like I can't even read. Like I'm right in front of the screen. I can't even read the Greenwood Chevrolet that's above our heads, and I'm like maybe 2 feet away from the screen. With the glasses, I am like just above legally blind. So like I meet that like barely cut off. Probably wouldn't be still safe to drive, but I like it's like, but without them, gone. It's trash. I showed you my lenses before, right? Like they're super thick. They're like they gotta be like half an inch thick. I mean, they're nuts. Some people put them on just to get the headache. They don't believe me. Like they're like, no, I put on other people's glasses before. They can't be that bad. And then they're, oh my!
That's
that my glasses are used for those drunk goggles that you use in like 8th grade science to show you what it would be like if you were impaired. Those are my glasses, basically.
It's okay, man. My dexterity is my fine motor. Like you got a lot more. I think upper body. You got a stronger upper body, so I worry about my lack of dexterity and my fine motor. That's why I haven't driven, but I guess
Yeah,
never
you know
say
what?
never, right?
We both have good people in our lives that drive us around every time, so that's
Yeah,
at least good.
yeah.
Scotty, what else do you have to talk about today on your brain?
But
Your noggin?
yeah, before this show totally goes up in
We
smoke.
don't want to we don't want to completely depress our audience by comparing our disabilities.
Yeah,
Take out a
yeah,
ruler.
that would just send everybody into a downer. We want people to be happy,
Lift it up, Scotty.
uplifted.
Lift it up.
But kind of tying in a little bit to what we talked about in you know individuals, athletes picking, you know, money over the great team or, the great team and winning over money. I wanted to still continue a conversation, but change it up just a little bit. I know you're not a big, you're not an NBA fan, Anthony, but Nikola Jokic, they call him the Joker. He won his first NBA title with the Nuggets the other night. His first MVP. He's already been a two-time MVP award winner. But my point is, he was the 42nd pick in the second round of the NBA draft. You look historically, the most noteworthy one was Tom Brady, picked in the sixth round of the NFL draft.
Hey, Kurt Warner wasn't even drafted.
Lamar Jackson, I know he hasn't won a title, but his winning percentage is very good when he's on the field. He was almost a second round pick.
Kurt Warner wasn't even drafted, Scotty.
What's that?
Kurt Warner was an undrafted free agent.
Yeah, so
I mean,
that's that's another great one, and he
Warren
ended up,
Moon was not drafted.
taking over for Trent Green and
Mhm.
the injured Trent Green and winning a Super Bowl. So I guess where I'm getting at is my point. Why do you think, and even on the high school level, I know this has to happen. Why do you think there's certain players? It just seems like still today in this day and age, not do they just get overlooked, but they're like just like it's like they're not even on the radar. Like, why do you think it seems
Oof.
to happen
That's
so
such a deep question.
often? And tying real quick, tying it in locally too as the second parter. Um, what are some? Do you have some high school athletes that have come to mind that maybe over the years here at YSN maybe initially got overlooked and then blossomed into stars?
All right, so for the first part of why that happens, I mean, I think if there was a legit answer to that, it would stop happening. Like I'm sure these NFL executives that we talked about and the NBA guys that passed on Djokovic, even the guys that didn't pick Michael Jordan because he was not the first pick of the NBA draft. There were people that passed on him. I think if you could, put a dart on how to not overlook people, that you would stop doing it. There's just some things that you don't know how a person is going to react to something. You don't know how they're going to, you know, um, use the opportunity they're given. You just don't know. Some people are just special like that, and when they have an open door, they take it and they kick it down. Kurt Warner's a great example. I mean, he was fishing for an opportunity his whole career, then he finally got one with the Rams, and he just kicked it down and made sure that he was there to stay. There's something to be said about guys that might only have one opportunity to do it, and they go and they make the most of it, because a lot of these athletes that are first round picks, they get a lot of opportunities. They get traded somewhere where they can make a second home, or maybe they even get traded 3 or 4 times before they find, somewhere where they're going to succeed. But that doesn't happen for these guys that get overlooked. You get one door open, maybe one guy decides to put a little bit of faith in you, and if that doesn't work out, that door is shut forever, right? For that career. And to be able to have that one moment and run with it, for Tom Brady, if Eric Bledsoe doesn't get hurt and Tom Brady doesn't get on the field, we might not be talking about the GOAT of Tom Brady and the legendary career that he has. You never know. He might move on to another team. Then the culture that he had with Bill Belichick might never happen. Who knows? Who knows if Tom Brady is the same if he doesn't get that start with New England. So when you get the opportunity, you have to take it. And a lot of guys like this in this conversation get just one opportunity, one shot. The Eminem song, right? If you had one shot,
Lose yourself, baby. One moment.
If you had one
One of my
moment,
favorites.
these guys are the epitome of that line, because they have that one shot, one shot, and people have been overlooking them their whole lives. They have the one shot, one thing, one moment to make themselves successful, and they do it. They shine, and they make a lot of people look foolish for overlooking them. And I think one of the things that is probably um, consistent in all of them is this un un unrestricted competitiveness and drive that makes them want to prove all those people wrong. Like, and to the end of the day, they take everything, like, get back about Michael Jordan, took it personally, right? You take a lot of things personally, use it as anger, use it as fuel, and you just drive yourself to the end of the earth to feel that drive, to feel that anger, that competitiveness. And these guys that we're talking about are like the most competitive people that you can ever find. And when someone says they can't do something, it usually just says, well, I'm going to prove you wrong. I'm going to go and do it. Like, there are people that listen to people that say you can't do something, and then there are people that don't listen and just prove them wrong, and it only makes them work harder if you say you can't do something. And these people that shine are the latter. So props to them, all those people. But to go back to local, Scotty, some athletes that I thought maybe were overlooked a little bit and then took their moment, took their time to shine. I think this year we had brilliant example of this in Haley Freedy from Canfield. I mean, she spent 1, 2, 3 years not being a consistent starter as a Canfield Cardinal. Comes into her senior year, a new coach, maybe a new look, gives her a chance, and all she does is lead the team in average, make a bunch of really great catches in the left field, be one of the best leaders on the team in the state tournament run all the way to the state championship game. But first 3 years didn't really get a look. The other coach, for one reason or another, didn't really believe that she could contribute to the team. And, maybe she came in to pinch run every now and then. But here comes Coach Kernan, saw something in her, gave her that chance, gave her that opportunity, that one shot. And, man, she ran with it. She kicked the door open. Going to play college at the next level now. And I bet a lot of it has to do with the confidence she's gotten into her senior year.
Yeah, it's really it's kind of, especially today. I guess the point of it is we're all still human, and humans there as much as um you might think somebody should pass the eyeball test.
Is that a Warren Moon jersey?
Sometimes it is a Warren.
I'm sorry, I just got
Moon
this because we were talking about he was undrafted too. You knew that?
Was he really?
Undrafted free agent, Warren Moon.
I never knew that.
Yeah, so brilliant.
But
good timing.
Yeah, I guess I was just saying as we close here, there's still the human element, and
right,
as people say,
look,
no
matter how many people want to
perfect.
make you think they're the smartest person in the room in sports, no one knows everything. No one knows. Like, there were a lot of people that didn't know Tom Brady was going to be Tom Brady, and they had bad scouting reports on him. And the same thing with every other athlete that was not chosen first in the draft that went on to do great things. There was someone that's had a reason not to pick them, right? So no matter how many people make you want to think that they know everything about a sport and they can pick out the best players every single time, at the end of the day, it's a guess. It's an estimated guess. It's the best estimated guess you can possibly have, but it's still a guess, and that's why kids get looked over a lot in the sports world, because as much as you dive into film and you dive into the combine and all these other things that tell you what you think an athlete can do, you don't know until that opportunity is given. And some players get it and they run with it, and I love those moments. I love those moments. Back to local though, I do want to also shout out a couple of, like, not necessarily specific athletes, but I've seen a lot of players that are on a team with a phenomenal talent that gets talked about a lot. And because of that, maybe there's other players on that team that don't get the limelight or get overshadowed a little bit that are still really good players. And I think that can be a factor too. If you're on a team, a high school team, a college team, even a pro team, that has a phenomenal, just generational type talent that everyone's talking about, you can still be a really good player, but not get the exposure because everyone's talking about that person and they don't really notice the other person that is there and kicking butt. So that's another way that people can get overlooked, and it does happen. And you don't get the exposure if you're on the team with someone that is just racking up all the love and all the limelight.
Well, yeah, I mean, I feel like we've hit Jordan a lot today, but Scottie Pippen is still not now to this, especially
I think that's
after
Scottie
the
Pippen's
last
own doing because he's a
Fans
douchebag.
documentary. He's still bitter about. Feels like
Scottie Pippen has a lot more problems. Like, he's not all there.
Yeah, he had a pretty with his brother and everything, and he had a rough. It was not easy, but yeah, he's definitely not all there. You're right about that.
He's not all there.
Thank you, Anthony, for
Scotty. Thank you so much as well for showing up every Wednesday and having fun with us. We will be back tomorrow on Running Point from 1 to 2, and we're going to have some fun. We'll have Class B baseball, the recap, because the games are back on tonight. Weather has cleared up. Field is looking good. So we'll have Class B baseball, the recap tomorrow. Scrappers baseball happening tonight as well, the last game of the series. with the Frederick Keys. The Scrappers have lost 2 heartbreaking losses. One where they tried a really good comeback when they were down by a lot, fell just short. And then last night, one big 8th inning when a game was close through 7 that did the Scrappers in. So Scrappers are going to try to salvage the series tonight against Frederick. Ty Bartell will be on the call as always. So make sure to check on that. Check on the Class B games on ysnlive.com. And we'll see you tomorrow from 1 to 2. On Running